A drill rapper Jim Jones Dips Set's very own has just been thrown in handcuffs, and guess what, the cause will leave your jaw on the floor. Hold up, Jim Jones, the same Jim who's been out here flexing, dropping bars, and evading wedding vows like Neo in The Matrix. Yup, that Jim Jones. And now it appears like his relationship drama has hit a whole new level of poisonous word on the streets is Jim went off on Chrissy Lampkin. And by off, I don't mean a small lover's quarrel about who left the cap off the toothpaste. We're talking full-blown 911 contacting officers hauling up handcuffs, clicking havoc. But wait, wasn't Chrissy Lampkin the one who proposed to him? What in the reverse UNO card is this? So what really went down? What did Chrissy Lampkin do? Or better yet, what did Jim Jones do? And why is Jim Jones and Chrissy Lampkin, the reality TV couple who have amused audiences for over a decade, are now at the center of a scandal so crazy it made Jim Jones has been detained for reportedly attacking Chrissy Lampkin? And this isn't some random chatter. Witnesses, police reports, and even close sources are all reporting the same thing, which could be the final straw. If you've been following their roller coaster of a love story, you already know that these two have had their fair share of drama. From Chrissy Lampkin proposing to Jim because he wouldn't commit to their intense confrontations on reality TV. The relationship has been anything but tranquil, so let's break it all down. It all started with a major dispute that went completely out of hand. According to inside sources, Jim and Chrissy Lampkin had been arguing over something for days. At first, everyone assumed it was just another one of their regular blow-ups, but nah. This one was different. Neighbors reported hearing shouting, glass breaking, and doors slamming like some full-on Hollywood drama going right next door. And guess what? It wasn't just words being exchanged. Sources say things turned violent. Now, here's where it gets crazy. Some stories stated Chrissy Lampkin was the one who started throwing objects, but Jim took it to another level. According to the police report, when cops arrived at the scene, Chrissy Lampkin was obviously disturbed. And Jim was furious and refused to comply. And let's be honest, this isn't Jim's first run-in with the law. We've seen his name show up in legal difficulties before. But this might be the worst one yet. So what really triggered this fight? Because let's be honest, nobody simply snaps out of nowhere. Turns out it all comes down to something Jim has been fighting with for years: money. Now, Jim likes to flex. We're talking about a man who lives lavishly, spends on designer clothes, showy jewelry, and costly automobiles. But here's the kicker: his financial. According to insiders close to the couple, Chrissy Lampkin has been holding things together for years by making sure their expenses are paid while Jim maintains his rapper lifestyle. And this time Chrissy Lampkin allegedly screamed, "Where's the money going?" during the dispute, and Jim wasn't having it. If you remember, this isn't the first time Chrissy Lampkin has had difficulties with Jim's financial practices. Look back a few years, and you'll remember how she kept pressing him to be more responsible, invest in their future, and stop squandering money like he's still at the top of the rap business. And Jim, he just kept doing things his way. But this time it was different. When the cops pulled up, they weren't expecting. According to eyewitnesses, Jim refused to calm down. Officers reportedly tried to de-escalate the situation, but JY was not listening. One officer apparently requested Jim to step outside so they could figure out what was going on. But Jim wasn't having it and started screaming, telling them they had no business being in his home, and Chrissy Lampkin was standing there in shock. One source claims she never expected it to go this far, and that's the crazy part. Chrissy Lampkin didn't even call the cops. It was the neighbors who reported it. Disturbance since they were concerned something major was going on. Now, what happens next? Jim gets arrested. Now, here's where things get very sticky. The police reportedly tried to give him a chance to cool down, but when he kept resisting, they had no choice but to throw him in cuffs. And let's talk about the mugshot moment, because you already know the internet is about to have a field day with this one. Jim Jones, the man who's constantly bragging about being untouchable, sitting there in a police station trying to figure out how the hell he got here. But here's the big question. What does this mean for Chrissy Lampkin? Because let's be honest, after years and years of putting up with Jim Jones, is this really the breaking point? The internet is already divided, with some saying Chrissy Lampkin has to leave. This man ain't never going to change. Others, they think she's going to remain because, let's be honest, she's stuck by him through worse. But let's talk about reality. Jim Jones is now facing legal trouble, and depending on how serious the allegations are, this may have huge ramifications for his career. Now, here's where things get even wilder. If Jim Jones is officially accused, we may be looking at a long legal struggle. And let's not forget that he already has a history with the law. Will Chrissy Lampkin stick around to assist him get out of this mess? Or is this finally the end of the book for the couple who's been clinging on by a thread for years? Either way, one thing is for sure, this is about to be one of the biggest scandals to strike the entertainment world in a long time. And guess what? We're just getting started to this wild situation, because believe me, this tale is only going crazier. So last we left off, Jim Jones was being dragged off in handcuffs. Chrissy Lampkin was standing there in amazement, and the internet was losing its damn mind. Now, this is where things take a serious turn. Now we have to deal about the fallout. You already know how the internet works. As soon as the mug image was out, people started cooking jelly like it was Thanksgiving food. The memes, tweets, and Instagram posts were nonstop. And let me tell you, the reactions were split right down the middle. On one side, people said Chrissy Lampkin needed to flee. She should have left years ago. On the other side, people were like, nah, this is just another one of their nasty fights. They'll be back together next week. But here's where things get really ugly, because remember, this wasn't just some private fight that got out of hand. Nah, this evolved into a full-blown criminal case. As soon as Jim Jones was detained, the police started their investigation, and that's when things started leaking. Sources apparently from inside the police department began talking to bloggers, and let's just say what they had to say was not looking good for Jim Jones. One source stated that when officers arrived, they discovered signs of a physical altercation. According to accounts, Chrissy Lampkin was injured during the fight. To be clear, Chrissy Lampkin did not pursue charges, at least not yet. However, in domestic disputes, the victim does not always have to press charges if the police consider there is enough evidence. They can pursue the case on their own, and that's exactly what's happening here, which means Jim Jones might be facing some serious legal trouble. Now let's talk about what this means for his career, because this could be bad. Jim Jones he's been in the industry for decades and has seen the highs, lows, and everything in between. But let's be honest, he's not at the top of the rap game like he used to be, and in today's environment, a scandal like this may be the final nail in the coffin for sponsors, brand deals, possible TV prospects. All of that might be on the line. And let's not forget, Jim Jones has been trying to extend his business empire high for years, working on real estate transactions, establishing other ventures, and trying to make himself relevant outside of music. But if this case goes to trial, if this turns into a full-blown legal war, that may put everything in jeopardy. And let's speak about the money, because let's be honest, genuine legal battles are expensive. Bail, lawyers, court costs, it all adds up. And if Jim Jones is already struggling financially, like people are saying, this could be terrible. But here's where things take an even wilder turn, because while Jim Jones is lying in jail trying to figure out his next move, Chrissy Lampkin has been quiet, like too quiet, with no announcements, no social media posts. And if you know Chrissy Lampkin, you know that's not like her. So what's really going on? Well, according to some insiders, Chrissy Lampkin has been in talks with her legal team to plan out her next move, because remember, this isn't just about Jim Jones, it's also about her reputation. Chrissy Lampkin has been trying to remove herself from the angry girlfriend moniker for years. She's been working on her own projects, growing her brand, and trying to show people that she's more than Jim Jones fans. But now she's right back in the thick of another scandal, and let's be honest, this could be her way out, because let's not forget, Chrissy Lampkin and Jim Jones never actually got married. She's been waiting on that ring for over a decade, and at this point, it doesn't look like it's ever going to happen. So now people are wondering if she eventually walks away, because let's be honest, if there was ever a time to do it, it's now. But here's where things get even wilder. While Jim Jones is dealing with all of this, some old skeletons are starting to crawl out of the closet. People are digging up earlier allegations, past legal troubles, and even past allegations about his behavior behind closed doors. And you know the internet doesn't forget anything. A few years ago, there were whispers about Jim Jones and his anger. Some people claimed he had a history of being aggressive when things didn't go his way. And now those same people are coming out of the woodwork saying, "See, we told you this wasn't new." But here's the problem. This isn't just about Jim Jones and Chrissy Lampkin anymore, because now other celebrities are getting involved. You've got people in the industry speaking out, taking sides and slinging shade. Some are defending Jim Jones, saying the media is blowing this out of proportion, while others say this is just another example of a toxic man in the industry being exposed. And you know what happens when celebrities start picking sides. Get messy, but here's what's really had folks spooked. Some of Jim Jones' own pals aren't defending him. People who used to be close to him are staying silent. And you know what they say when your own people don't speak up for you. That says a lot. The legal side of things, since this is about to get difficult since the police are pressing forward with the case. Jim Jones is going to have to lawyer up big time, and depending on how serious the accusations are, he could be looking at some major consequences. Best case, Jim Jones has had legal troubles in the past, but he's always managed to get himself out of trouble. In the worst case situation, he may face genuine jail time. And let's be honest, Jim Jones is not meant for that life. It could not be that easy, because in today's climate, people are not playing when it comes to these kinds of issues. And if the Dell decides to make an example out of him, it could be disastrous. So the question now is, how does Jim Jones get out of this jam? Can he even solve this? And more importantly, does Chrissy Lampkin even want to help him anymore? Because let's be honest, she's been cleaning up his messes for years, but this might be too much. So what's next? Is Jim Jones ready to lose everything? Is Chrissy Lampkin finally set to leave? Most importantly, the end of Jim Jones as we know him, because right now things ain't looking good. But wait up, there's still more to this story, because just when we thought it couldn't get any crazier, fresh information just dropped, and trust me, you are not going to believe what's coming next. All right, now let's get into part 3, because trust me, this thing just taken a whole new turn, and it's looking terrible for Jim Jones. When we last left off, Jim Jones was sitting in jail, Chrissy Lampkin was being much too quiet, and the entire industry was watching to see what happened next. But now some brand new information has just dropped, and it might be the final nail in the coffin for Jim Jones, because guess what Chrissy Lampkin is done? Yes, you heard that right. After years of standing by this man, waiting for a wedding that never happened, dealing with Chrissy Lampkin is finally stepping away, according to people close to her. She is weary of cleaning up his messes, fighting the same arguments over and over, and most importantly, appearing like a fool in front of the world. Listen, this isn't just a cooling down time. Chrissy Lampkin is making some huge measures behind the scenes, according to sources. She's already started talking about her lawyers about separating her income from Jim's, which is a big matter since, recall, these two might not be married, but they've had a lot of business ties together. So if Chrissy Lampkin is making sure her money is protected, that implies she's really done. But here's the weirdest part. She's not just walking away from Guy, she's walking away from everything, according to sources. Preparing to leave New York for good, she's looking at houses in Miami, she's been reaching out to real estate agents, and she's already preparing her next chapter without Jim. Now let's talk about what this means for Jim, because let's be honest, Jim without Chrissy Lampkin is a totally new reality. For years, she's been the one keeping him grounded, making sure he didn't spiral out of control. And now that she's gone, Jim is going to learn just how much he truly needed her. But wait up, this story is far from done, for while Jim is dealing with all this personal drama, his legal problems just got worse. You remember how the cops were already pushing forward with the case? Well, now they've increased the charges. At first, he was staring at a simple domestic dispute charge, but now he's facing felony charges because allegedly new evidence came out that made prosecutors take this lot more seriously. They haven't revealed precisely what that evidence is, But some folks are speculating that surveillance footage from their residence may have caught the entire battle on camera. And if that's true, if there's video proof, Jim is in deep trouble because, let's be honest, there's no twisting your way out of that. And it gets worse because now a court has formally placed a restraining order against Jim. That means he can't go anywhere near Chrissy Lampkin, can't contact her, can't even try to fix things. And if he does, he could face even more jail time. But let's get into the industry side of this because few people are jumping ship. Remember how I said Jim's own people were staying quiet, but now they're actively distancing themselves. Some of his old friends and business partners are gradually walking away, unfollowing him on social media and pretending they never even knew him. And you know what that implies. Means nobody wants to go down with the ship in the music industry. When you start losing your connections, that's when you know it's terrible because, let's be honest, Jim wasn't exactly at the top of the rap game anymore. He was still respected. He had a name, but more focused on other business ventures. But now those business ventures are in jeopardy. Brands don't want to be associated with a scandal like this. Investors don't want their names linked to a potential domestic abuser. People are already starting to pull out of partnerships with Jim. One of his greatest real estate projects scrapped, a potential TV deal he was working on gone. And let's not forget Jim was wanting to come back into the love and hip-hop scene. But now ain't no Moma Scott Young bringing him back after this because real love and hip-hop thrives on drama. But they ain't trying to be involved in anything this nasty now. Let's speak about the public reaction because you'll know the internet has been eating this up. The memes, the Twitter threads, the deep dives into Jai's past, everything happening in real time. And let's just say people have opinions. Some are saying good for Chrissy Lampkin. She should have left him. Others are defending Jim, claiming this is just another case of the media attempting to pull a black man down. But one thing is for sure, Jim's reputation is taking a major damage. And it's not only the internet that's talking. Other celebs are starting to weigh in as well. 50 Cent, you'll know he couldn't resist, has slung some shade on Instagram, basically clowning Jim for getting locked up and adding Cameron and Joel Santana, Jim's own buddies, are supposedly asking him to lay low and stop talking because if he keeps running his mouth, he'll just going to make matters worse. But you know Jim, he ain't the type to stay quiet, and now sources are suggesting that he's intending to do a complete interview as soon as he's out of jail, a tell-all sit-down interview where he's going to explain his side of the story. But here's the thing, will people even believe him at this point? Let's be honest, no matter what he says, that mugshot is already out there, those reports are already out there, and the restraining order is already out there. So even if he tries to clean this up, the damage is already done. The main question is what happens next. Will Jim truly wind up in prison? Will Chrissy Lampkin move on and start a whole new life without him? Most importantly, is this the end of Jim Jones' career? Let's be honest, he may have weathered previous controversies, but this one might be the one that takes him all the way down. And believe me, this story is far from done, since you already know there will be more twists, turns, and drama. So stay tuned because this situation is about to get much crazier. Outrageous, and it's only getting wilder by the second. Jim Jones sitting behind bars, Chrissy Lampkin finally walking away, business deals crumbling with the entire industry turning their backs on him. Like, is this really the end of Jim, or is he set to pull off the biggest comeback we've ever seen? And let's talk about Chrissy Lampkin. Do you believe she's really done with him this time? Or is this just another one of those instances where they break up today and get back together next week? Let's be honest, we've seen this before. Jim is in serious trouble, and if these criminal accusations stick, he may not see freedom anytime soon. But what do you think? Should Chrissy Lampkin have left him years ago, or is she doing the wrong step? As you walk away, slip your thoughts in the comments, since I know you have please share your thoughts on this. And remember to like, subscribe, and turn on those notifications because baby, we are not finished with this tale. Additional updates are coming, and believe me, you do not want to miss what happens next.